Welcome into another episode of Full Courtney Press. I'm your host, Courtney Mims. And guys, the transfer portal is open. So we have a lot to talk about just because the basketball season is over. And I'm sad to even say the basketball season is over because I'm just waiting for November, counting down the days. But we have a lot to talk about from now until then. So the guy to do it all with me, you know him, you love him, Hog Hoops insider Kevin McPherson. Thanks so much for joining the show, Kevin. As always, the transfer portal is already making our heads explode. It's been like literally not even 24 hours, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I have a head right now. I hear you and I can see you on screen, so I'm assuming it's still somewhat functional. Doing the basics, just getting the basics here. You know, the bottom line is this. This is what happens every year. You had the previous coaching staff that did most of his roster builds out of the portal, and it was just players' names flying around, Zoom calls being set up, visits or no visits, taking a bunch of commitments, and then Calipari comes in and no Arkansas fan base, no majority of it has gotten used to the idea that he operates on his own clock. There's not a whole lot of actual portal activity in terms of how many players he takes and who they're truly, really serious about yet. For weeks, really going back to January, we hear about all these players where there's some level of mutual interest because they have to cast a wide enough net to get to a point where they only take two. Maybe this time around it's 3 or 4 based on what retention's starting to look like. So, Courtney, we need to keep our heads because Calipari's not going to go wild in the portal anyway. He's probably kicked back, getting a laugh out of the rest of us trying to chase it down while he makes his moves in darkness.
Well, yeah, he absolutely does. And it's so much different from Musselman, where it was like if a guy hit the portal, it was like, and he's been contacted by, oh, look, there's Arkansas. Oh, he's been contacted by, oh, look, there's Arkansas. You know, it was just so well known that if a guy hit the portal, whether or not Arkansas needed him or not, Eric Musselman was there talking to him in some which way, shape, or form. And Calipari, like you said, he moves in the shadows. So sometimes you even get a name, and we're going to talk about one that we just popped up on our radars today, and no one was really talking about him, and we were like, whoa, okay, now we got to talk about him, right? So we're going to get into that. First, I want to say very quickly, we're going to kind of move quick in this show. If you are watching this, the portal news happens all the time. So if you're watching this and news has happened, I am sorry. We are recording this on Tuesday night when the portal has opened today. So April 7th is the date, and we're recording this around 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. So if something happens, don't come for me in the comments. This happened. This changed. Okay, great. I got it. Okay. Big news that happened this week, Carter Knox, and last week, Carter Knox and DJ Wagner hitting the portal. They're gone. So you already have 2 that aren't going to be here. Malik Thomas. Coming out that in what was the latest draft projections today that he was the 24th overall pick going to the Los Angeles Lakers. I think I read that somewhere that was where he was projected. I don't think he's sticking around. I could be wrong on that, Kevin. I don't think he is. So that's personally my opinion on that. You're also looking at Billy Richmond. What could Billy Richmond do? Is he sticking around? What's going on with him? Let me fix Kevin because he got really small there for a second. There you are, Kevin. There you are. Back again. Here you go. Sometimes this happens on this computer, guys, and we just have to make it work. Anyways, there's Kevin. But we are still waiting to hear on what's happening with Billy Richmond. Is he possibly going in the NBA draft? What is he going to do? Is he going to come back? We're still waiting to hear that. Then we've also got my favorite topic of conversation with everybody is that what's Malik Ewan doing? No one knows right now. No one knows. Cryptic posts on social media. Gonna have an announcement soon. It's time, and then nothing happens. So, there's all of that going on as we talk about the portal. And I'll say this about the Malik Ewan situation, Kevin, and I'll let you comment on all those guys I just threw out here very quickly.
Yeah.
But I'll say this on the Malik Ewan situation, because Kevin and I, we try and chat a lot. We're like, hey, We've got our own. He's got his own sources. I've got my own sources, different sources, and we always just say, "Hey, what are your sources saying?" That's what being good coworkers is like, right? And good friends, I will say as well. About the Malik Ewan situation, I know you've heard similar things of hey, he wanted to come back, he was trying to come back. I think that's what the announcement was, that he was coming back. But the problem is, what's happening with that NCAA waiver? Did they think it was going through and now there's a holdup there? Because I think the holdup right now is the NCAA waiver. And will he get that waiver for another year of eligibility? If he doesn't, he's not coming back. He has no more eligibility. He's got to go test, he's got to go move on to the next level, test those NBA draft waters, because that's his option. So I think if he gets that waiver, I think he's coming back. If he doesn't, then obviously he doesn't even get the opportunity to. Kevin, I just threw a lot about retention there, but what are your thoughts, your feelings on all of those guys? Very quickly, if we can kind of hit, what are you thinking on retention?
Yeah, I think Malik Thomas is going to test the draft waters. You mentioned that Jonathan Wasserman with Bleacher Report, really good mock draft guy. He's got the latest projection, came out today. So the first one he's put out since the end of the college basketball season, Malik 24th, late first round, Lakers. I think if he gets a first round draft grade and gets a guarantee behind the scenes from all it takes is one team that we're going to take in the first round, he's going to stay in the draft. But I'm not convinced that until we see this play out, I'm not convinced that Malik Thomas 100% is going to get that. So let's see what happens. But he probably does. That's where I think on it now. As far as, Billy Richmond, I think he should test the draft waters. Do the feedback game just like Carter Knox did a year ago. You don't see any mocks with him on it. And give him a chance to get feedback, have teams tell him what he needs to do to put himself in position to get drafted maybe in a year. I think he's most likely to come back. Malik Ewan, your guess is as good as mine. I've heard everything from his waiver was denied, which means he does have a potential remedy if he wants to file through the courts and try to get an injunction. I've heard that, he thinks he's getting it approved and telling people that I'm going to be back. It's been all over the gamut. You name it, that's what I've heard. And so who knows? So far we got to just sit with and stick with that hourglass he gave us last week. It's time, and it's got the hourglass. That's all we got. Time has frozen since. No, there's been no sand pouring through it. It's just frozen. So we don't know, and we're waiting to find out. We know Acuff's gone. He's going to be likely a lottery pick, maybe high end. We know TB and Pringle, they're out of eligibility. Guys like, Isaiah Seeley, Paulo Samito, we'll see. I had a source connected with the Seeley folks, his camp, saying he's coming back. But when we're talking retention, I'm really focused on players that helped you the previous season in your rotation. It doesn't mean that he couldn't factor into it moving forward, but it's still an unknown what he would bring to the table. So you're right. The names you brought up are the ones we should be focused on right now. And I agree with you. It's about where you said it is about where I have it.
Yeah. And honestly, again, it's we're operating on, right? Maybe Billy Richmond, maybe Malik Ewan. I mean, I know you said, hey, I feel good about him coming back, but it's at the same time, you can't confidently say, yes, it's happening right now. So anything can happen. So right now you're operating at maybe, hey, worst case scenario, you only get Isaiah Seeley back, right? Your worst case, right? Or you don't get any retention back. It would be kind of a scary thing, I think. But you got to prepare for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? So we'll see what happens with those guys. It would be nice to have somebody like Billy Richmond coming back, right? It would be nice to have somebody who knows his Cal system, somebody who's a leader. Guys look up to him. It's just that is so much more than I think some people realize. And so sometimes, retention is huge. So if they can get something back, I think that's really, really big. And Cal will have done well with getting some retention back from last year's squad with all the guys who are out of eligibility, and Darius Acuff, going to the NBA, and Malik Thomas possibly going to the NBA. I think some retention is actually a job well done on Coach Cal with this team. Okay, let's move on to the big elephant in the room, That's craziness when the portal opens. It always happens. But a guy that Arkansas has been heavily linked to, and I know Kevin's talked about him. We've talked about him on the show as well, as Santo Sirill, the big man from Georgia, hitting the portal. It was announced, last week that he was going to enter his name into it, or maybe a week and a half ago, whatever it was. But he obviously officially entered the portal. And now there's all this talk. My sources, and I know, Kevin, you have different sources than me, and we've talked about this, felt really good about Arkansas's chances of landing him. Well, now that's changed a little bit. Miami has come into play, and we never said that couldn't happen. We never said that other teams may not be also courting him. And I know you even mentioned on your show, Kevin, that Miami was a player in this game. Well, he enters with a do not contact tag into the portal. We think, okay, that means clearly he's talking to some teams, and he knows that out of the people he is interested in, they are talking to him. He kind of knows what he wants to do in terms of the teams that he wants to look at. That doesn't mean Arkansas. It doesn't mean it's locked for Arkansas or Miami or whoever. But it looks like Miami has come in, and this is what my sources tell me, with a high offer. I don't think it's $4 million like everybody is saying. Sorry to everyone who might be saying that. I'm sorry. I know some national guys are saying that. Sorry. I don't think it's $4 million. I think from what my sources are saying to me, more like $2.5 million. And maybe some extra offers of, hey, you can get 1.5 and these other NIL deals over here. But as the school, we're going to give you 2.5. That makes more sense to me in my head on where that number maybe came from. Kevin, what's going on with this situation? What can you make of it? Do you think he's a lock for Miami at this point? Because I don't think anything's a done deal until it's a done deal, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. And it could be that it ends up being Miami. We've seen Calipari over and over again, especially with frontline guys. Brandon Garrison in year one. Kentucky jumped way out there, sight unseen. He hadn't even been on that campus. Reached the NIL number that he wanted to be at. Arkansas wasn't there. He commits to Kentucky. Cal had a stopping point. He's did that with Mo Silla, who ended up at Georgia Tech after privately committing to Cal, coming out of high school. Took that visit, was December of 2024, ends up at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech came in with a bigger offer at the end. Calipari had the opportunity to match that or exceed it and opted not to. He did that with Baba Allah Dotton, who ended up at Maryland just back a few months ago. And my sources were telling me he's going to put more money into Jordan Smith Jr. We see how that played out, a backcourt player. So if you think about sort of this history, Calipari will go so far with his bidding war. And it's not a true bidding war, because a bidding war means you're willing, to keep going. That's what makes it a war. And he doesn't, he's not trying to do the battle for the long term on some of these guys. And it could very well be, what I'm told is what's happened here is that Miami outbid him, that the camp with Sirill, the last I heard, turned back to Calipari and he said, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that $2.5 million, what you talked about, that was the valuation I had in mind for him initially, and what I thought it would probably be, even in this escalated market, not only for bigs, but specifically for bigs, but all of it, because each year the price of doing business goes up. But at the end of the day, I'm told that Calipari was not willing to get to the 2.5. Now, could he have a change of heart on that? Like you said, things aren't done until we hear it's announced. Or if it is done and it's just a matter of getting it announced, we'll find that out in due time. But until then, because recruiting changes and because it apparently changed for what it was looking like for Arkansas here, who's to say that doesn't mean that whether it's Arkansas, another school I've heard that might be wanting to make a push is Georgia Tech. There's been other ones that I've mentioned. So you just never know until we know. But it does look like for now, based on what came out today, maybe Miami.
Yeah, and I like that you say that, because things happen so quickly. When you have sources, and I'm going purely based off mine. I can't speak for yours, Kevin, but I think yours even said the same thing, that they felt very confident that Arkansas was in the lead for him, that they felt confident that, hey, Arkansas is looking good to land him. Well, that changed. things happen. It's like I always tell people, take sources with a grain of salt, right? Because, hey, they might be telling you exactly what's going on in that moment, but then things can change. We're talking about negotiations. Hey, this school has come back in with a higher offer. Do you want to take that? I mean, this is it happens. It's portal season. It's the portal era. That's what happens. So to everybody out there oh, we missed. I don't think it's that they missed. I think it's more just that Calipari, as a businessman, because you're not just a coach, you're a businessman too. He runs the business of the Arkansas Razorback men's basketball team, and he has a pot of money, and he has to decide, okay, is this player worth this amount of money? Am I willing to go up to 2.5 or am I not? Am I willing to walk? Because I need this money for this guy that we've got on the hook over here. I don't know. None of us are Calipari. None of us know exactly what's going on. So we say all this to say, hey, calm down. It's the first day. Nothing has been official yet. Looks like Miami is leading, but like we thought that Arkansas was leading just a day ago, things could change, right? Things could change.
And I talked about it earlier on the show I did at noon. I brought up the fact that every source I have thinks either Arkansas is in the lead or about to sew this up. And I explained the whole thing with the do not contact tag when you go in the portal. And I'm like, all it means is not every Tom, Dick, and Harry in a coaching world can come out, can really start blowing up your phone. And this guy's already third-party back channeled, probably down to at least 2 schools, if not more, or it could be 1, where he can control who he's talking to and finish things up.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said was, so even though my sources think this is very favorable for Arkansas, one of the things I threw out immediately, I said, but because it's not I don't have a direct pipeline into his camp and his agency, his representation, that what it could also mean is that what was true about Arkansas could have changed in real time by now through the weekend. And I said, maybe it's Miami. Yeah. And that Arkansas has already moved on. Well, that's also a possibility. Has Arkansas moved on after Calipari said, no thanks? Is Arkansas still trying to figure out a way to make it work? Because it's not done until it's done. Yeah. Right? What we just said. So all of those things could still be on the table. It sounds more like everything that came down pretty heavily today, that Miami's now the team to beat. Yeah. But again, and the sources that were telling me they thought it was Arkansas are now saying, we're hearing the same thing. That's probably true. Yeah. Okay, let's see what happens. Again, I'm not trying to give anybody any false hope, but the nature of this stuff is so fluid and mercurial that you can't count on anything until you can. No. You say, well, when is that? Well, when that announcement gets made. And even when that happens, players sometimes wiggle out of that a few weeks later for whatever reason. Exactly. Some hang out with the school or something about the NIL. Those things happen too. It can be a drama until it's not. Sometimes we don't know until people are enrolled. Butts are in seats in the school for summer session 1 in June, and they're going to limited practice, and then you got them. And even sometimes those guys leave later for some crap. Courtney, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to spin us out of control. I'm trying to illustrate how goofy this stuff can be and how we often are chasing our tails.
It is because, I mean, at the end of the day, they want to be treated like pros, right? And I'm not going to go into a whole NIL, the portal rant. They want to be treated like pros, but pros have what? Contracts, right? Pros have contracts that say, hey, you just can't just go up and, hey, bye, see ya. Or I'm not going to, you can't do those things. It protects the team as well as the player too. So again, not trying to go into a whole NIL transfer portal, but maybe someday I'll yell into the void enough that maybe they need a CBA and maybe they need to do these things. And maybe there's a way to not make them employees of the university, but have them to contracts. I don't know. Maybe just yelling into the void about it. Anyways. Before we get too deep in the weeds, I do want to talk about some of the other guys that we've brought up. And I teased early on that you never really know what Calipari is doing, right? He works in the shadows. And so we kind of, you get bits and pieces from different people, but a name popped up today, right? And we both talked about it because you called me and you were like, hey, this name popped up on my radar. It popped up on mine too. I know other people were reporting this name, so I'll give credit to where credit is due. Other people have also picked up. Their sources have told them about this name, but Colorado Buffaloes guard, Isaiah Johnson. averaging 16.9 points last year, 2.9 rebounds, three assists, shot right around 49% from the field for Colorado. A freshman with them, obviously would be a sophomore next year. He popped up today saying, hey, Arkansas, there looks to be some mutual interest. Maybe, Arkansas, and there's been some chats. They're not the only people at play here, but there's been some chats. What do you think of that, Kevin? I know this name came across your desk today. So what do you think about Isaiah Johnson?
Yeah, this morning it came across my phone. I actually talked to an assistant coach who called me to ask about what's going on with Arkansas and Isaiah Johnson. And I took a pause and I'm like, well, you tell me. This is the first I'm actually hearing of that. So that's how. And then you're right. Through the day, I guess other people have been talking about it. So it's not just some random call that I got. There's some smoke there.
Yeah.
And what I've been able to learn since I did talk about that on my noon show as well earlier.
Okay.
I brought that up. But I said at the time, which was true, I didn't know much about it yet. I was still trying to gather more based on what this assistant was asking me about at another school. And what I've learned since then is that it may be more than just kicking the tires and mutual interest. There may be some real conversations with the potential for some kind of NIL offer on the table, potentially. We know DJ Wagner's gone. The whole reason when we were going through Arkansas's retention that I didn't talk about Wagner or Carter, you brought him up to say, yep, we've heard, is because Calipari says once you go in the portal, you ain't coming back here.
Yeah.
And until he changes that, there was really no reason to go there. But now it's worth talking about for me to say, well, you're going to have to replace DJ Wagner in that backcourt. And you look at Isaiah Johnson, 6'1" guard out of Colorado, led the team in scoring around 17 points per game, around 3 assists, good three-point shooter on really good volume, 37, 38%. And you start thinking about pairing him with a Jordan Smith Jr., and you don't know. You want to make sure if you're going to get a backcourt player, they can handle the 1 and the 2. To not only just leave it in Jordan Smith Jr.'s hands, who's going to be a combo. So I think it makes sense when you look at an Isaiah Johnson, another name who I think you're about to bring up, another Big 12 guard.
Yeah.
I know you're aware of it. We talked about it earlier as well. But with Isaiah Johnson, it seems like that one may be a little further along than the one we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
In terms of what I've heard.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that he's a little bit more further along. That's why I brought him up first. So that's why I brought that one up first. Then I'm going to bring up, because you just kind of mentioned it, Terrence Brown. And I know we're bringing up a lot of guards. I will bring up a big here just in a second, because we kind of talked about Sirill, and I do want to talk about kind of where they're heading, what they're thinking, because they need bigs, right? They need bigs. Trevin's gone. Nick's gone. Malik Ewan's possibly gone. They need bigs, okay? So, but Terrence Brown from Utah, a guard from Utah, junior, there was a tweet, and oh gosh, who was it by, Kevin? I'm sorry, I totally forgot.
Yeah, it was not one of the main platforms, but it was a group that they put out.
The Rising Ballers Network. Am I right on that? Okay.
Rising Ballers Network, yeah.
Rising Ballers Network. I just wanted to give credit to them because they were the first ones who said this. So, again, Rising Ballers Network put out that Terrence Brown Jr. has told them that he has heard from the following schools. Lists all these schools, okay? Missouri, Mississippi State, Oklahoma State, LSU, SMU, Kansas, Miami, St. John's, Oregon, NC State, UCLA. I could go through all of them, right? But Arkansas on that list. So clearly somebody that a lot of teams want, or at least want to have some talks with and see, hey, we're interested. What you feeling? He's a guy, just to go over the stats really quick, averaged around 20 points per game for the Utes this past season, 2.4 rebounds, 3.8 assists, about shooting 45% from the floor. He's a junior, like I mentioned before, 6'3", 175-pound guard. Somebody on social media, and I thought this was kind of interesting, Kevin, so I want to bring this up. Somebody on social media, when I posted this, was like, he gives me L. Ellis vibes. And I was like, okay. So I think they're a little bit maybe nervous about that, that he came from a Utah team, or he's would be coming from a Utah team that wasn't very good this past year. And those are, hey, that's some good stats there, but you're coming on a Utah team that wasn't very good. Same with L. Ellis coming from a team in Louisville that was really, really bad. So how do you feel about Terrence Brown? Do you think this, what should Hog fans know about him?
Yeah, 20 points per game, you mentioned it. You mentioned the field goal shooting. But he's like a 32% shooter from three.
Oh yeah,
And
sorry, I
that
did.
was an improvement this year over
Yes.
the previous 2 years. He's steadily gotten better, but a guy that's been in the 20s. So 6'3", not really that highly efficient shooting from three, shoots the free throws in the 70s percentile. And so it's got DJ Wagner feels all over it in terms of some of the efficiency and body type. He's not as thick and built as DJ, but the same height, maybe better length, maybe a little quicker athlete. But anytime someone's in the Big 12 putting up 20 points per game, you take a look at him again. You've got to fill a backcourt spot. You mentioned a list. What was it? 20, 25
God, there's
schools.
so many
We don't.
schools on there.
Yeah, we don't. So we don't know the level of Arkansas's interest. What we do know is Calipari is not like Eric Patrick Musselman. Think about it. In the Musselman era, if we had. I mean, I should have put Musselman on the spot and said, "Come on, Muss, be honest. You're the only requirement you have is getting Anthony Ruda to hold a mirror up to the guy's mouth, and if he can fog it, you're going to recruit him. You're going to kick the tires, and you're going to be on the list."
Not Anthony Ruda over here. Not.
Yeah, Ruda. We got a Ruda reference going on here.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love
Fog
it.
a mirror, babe. That's all you got to do. We'll recruit you. Calipari's not like that. So
No.
the fact that Arkansas has reached out doesn't necessarily mean anything other than they don't cast as wide in that. So who knows?
It might be,
maybe it goes there. But on a 20, 25 name list of a school, we'll keep our eyes on it. But it was worth talking about.
Yeah, worth just mentioning, okay? Because he was they
may
were on
have
the
real
list.
smoke.
We're just
It
mentioning.
may have legs, it may not.
We're just mentioning. And another guy I want to bring up because we're running out of time. Sorry, guys. We'll do another episode. I promise. I promise for everyone going, what? You haven't even scratched the surface. I know we have 25 minutes, so we do what we can. I talked about bringing up a big man, right? And I know, and we've talked about this guy. They need a five, right? They do. They need it. They need a true center. They really do. But this guy kind of, gets me excited just a little bit because, hey, they still got to replace. I talked about all those guys, Nick Pringle, Trevin Brazil, and Malik Ewan, possibly, okay? Yeah. But Malik Ewan comes back. Maybe this guy can share that 4 spot with him if they can go out and get a 5. Maybe this might be some good depth when we talk about having some depth in the 4 and 5 spots here, okay? That's what we need. You guys know that. I've talked a lot about depth. But Georgia Tech's Bay Dongo, 6'9", 240 pounds, averaged 11.8 points per game for Georgia Tech last year, 8.1 rebounds. So there you go, and 2.4 assists, shooting around 56% from the floor. And then because you've been bringing up the 3, I'm just going to see what his 2025 stats were. Oh, 36% from the 3. So there you go. What should Hog fans, I mean, again, you can kind of break down this for us, Kevin, but I know he's not going to be a true center for them, but could be just a good option to have, right? If Malik Ewan does leave, you still got to get some big men, and he would qualify.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably be a 4 or 5 for you.
Yeah.
If you got to get the right pieces around him but if you're only going to go 3 deep on a front line like Calipari's only done since he's been at Arkansas, this guy could be a 4 or 5 combo. And maybe he's part of your vision to answer the departure of Trevor Brazil at the 4, but Brazil was also a part-time 5.
Yeah.
Just not as effective. This guy's a better rebounder when you look at it statistically. The 3-point shooting's a little bit deceiving in terms of volume. I think he averages in 3 seasons at Georgia Tech about 15 threes a year. So basically every other game he takes a 3. The percentage is good though.
Yeah, still makes them.
Let's think about it. Malik Ewan has taken fewer threes, but a guy that we think could shoot him if they moved him away from the basket at all for more of a roll away. So you never know what the vision might be and where you might get more of that from him in his next stop or if it was Arkansas. But I think there is some mutual interest there. I've talked about that on my show a couple of times. His name's come up in previous episodes, not recently. So you're on a track there in terms of someone that would be, I think, a good fit. I look at that as a guy that that would be not a B-list kind of guy on a front line somewhere, even if it's A-, but in that A group. As your only five, no.
No.
But as a 4 or 5 combo, yes.
Yeah, I like that. I think that that's good when we're talking about you don't have anything there right now. So that's that's what they're trying to build up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they need it. And that was one of the weaknesses of Arkansas this year. So to get some guys in there to build some depth, that's what I know Calipari, I feel like, is going to place an emphasis on that. And they're obviously, we're not talking about everybody in this show. We will bring up, I'm sure we will get more names as we, go on throughout the week, even in the next 24 hours, I'm sure more names will pop up. But those are some of the guys that, again, were brought up on both of our radars. Wanted to bring them up for everybody, just so. And I know you've brought several of them, actually all of them, up on your show. So it's the same thing. You've been hearing the same things, Kevin. For everybody right now, really quickly before we go, we have just a couple of minutes, but I do want to ask you big picture here.
Yeah.
People shouldn't be hitting the panic button already first day into the portal. I mean, Calipari, I really do feel like he knows what he's doing. If there's a reason why he's not willing to pay $2.5 million for someone, it's because he has a plan, or he feels like, okay, the money's going to be better spent over here, or we're talking to this guy or this guy, and this is what. Do you feel me on that, or just can you calm down the Arkansas fans a little bit who are in my mentions? Like, hey, what's going on, Courtney? What's going on? I'm like, hey, breathe. It's the first day. And people haven't even signed yet. I mean, these things aren't even official yet.
Right. No, you're right. It's too soon to hit the panic button. I want to level this with a couple of factors.
Okay.
Last year, Calipari went a little bargain basement. He didn't get what he thought he was getting out of those bigs, but they were not really A-list bigs. We're not just saying that in hindsight. That was kind of the truth at that time. I've had sources, and I've talked about it a while on my show. He is telling people that he's going to do more in terms of what he's going to do for the front line, including he wants to get an A-list guy this time.
Yeah.
Well, if what we're hearing on the Sirill front is correct, that one school outbid him and he opted not to, you're saying, oh, here we go again, ? But it's too soon to hit the panic button and say, uh-oh, he's doing it again. We don't know. Maybe he's got another A-lister in mind that he is willing to spend that kind of money on, that he sees as a better value. Relationship be darned with Sirill and recruiting him to Kentucky several years ago, because so I tend to think, based on what he's telling people, he's got a plan in place. If it's not Sirill, that's going to land Arkansas an A-lister that everybody's going to be happy with. If it reverts to something where you can clearly see what he builds is not A-list, then it's back to the potential of what Arkansas, dealt with this past season, which was nothing against Nick Pringle and Malik Hugh and his people, or whatever happened there happened, but it didn't quite pan out like we thought it would. But what we could identify from the early onset without ever seeing how it played out, well, these weren't A-list types to begin with. And after looking at this Final Four and this Elite Eight, those are grown men with big, large bodies.
Yes.
They look like they're carved out of mountains, and you go, wait a minute. He's not carved out of a mountain. He is the mountain.
No, he is.
Arkansas, right. And they can play. And so it's not just that they're big, they can play. And so, let's see what happens. Sirill was the kind of guy that's a move. He's still raw in certain ways, but other ways, man, he checks a lot of boxes. And we'll see. Again, let's see what actually finishes out on that. Maybe it is Miami. And then let's see what else Calipari has up his sleeve. But you are exactly right. Talking to the fan base, it's too soon to panic.
Yeah.
It's day one of the portal. There's plenty of A-list guys available, and there'll be more getting in the portal in the next couple of weeks.
And exactly. And that's something we're going to see more movement. This is not the end all be all. There are guys still making decisions. They still have an opportunity to, get into the portal. And so again, we're just first day. It's good. It's going to be okay, everyone. It is going to be okay. I think there's a plan. I think there's a way to look, but it's okay to be slightly concerned. This is what I say to everyone. It's always okay to go in and say, wow, what's going on? Is there something happening here? Why did we miss on this guy? Or, because here's what I tell people. If Calipari is truly, truly focused on getting bigs, it's going to cost. It's going to cost some money. It's going to cost some money. Okay. And if he's being smart with that money, great. 100% claps. Be smart with your money. But you also need to understand you're going to have to shell out. You are. Yeah. You are going to have to. I know he doesn't like bidding wars. Sometimes you might have to get into a little bidding war. Sometimes you might have to say, hey, we can go toe-to-toe with a Miami or in Alabama or whatever. I'm just throwing teams out there, you know? I mean, dare I say UNC, Michigan, whatever it is. But we might need to go there because I want to show that I'm serious about getting these guys. I don't think that would be a bad thing. And I think he's going to have to maybe get uncomfortable a little bit with some of the prices, right? I think he's just going to have to maybe just say, hey, if the price tag of this guy is $3 million and you don't think he's worth that, but that's his price tag, there's probably somebody going to pay it because they need that body. They need that big man. They are wanted. If you have a good one, he's wanted. You know, it's like, again, I always say this, and especially with the young people too. They hit the portal, and my dad says this all the time. They're like, how much money does he want? He's not worth that. He's not worth that. What are you talking about? I wouldn't pay that. And I'm like, but Dad, that's the price point. That's the price point. And I get it. Calipari might have to get uncomfortable with paying somebody a little more money than maybe he would want to pay him. You know, it might just have to happen. That's why I get it. He's so, focused on changing the landscape of college basketball because he's getting a little crazy. Some of these guys want to, and somebody's like, oh yeah, he's $4 million. I'm like, what? That's how much money he wants. Oh my gosh. $4 million. Okay. What's he going to do with $4 million? All right. Great. Wonderful. Awesome. So I completely get that. And I want to say that for everybody out there. It's okay to be a little concerned. It's okay to be a little stitious. It's okay to do all those things, but don't hit the panic button just yet. It's day one. We're going to have a lot more news coming out. Kevin, as always, I appreciate you for joining me on the show. Anything you want to say for everybody before I let you go?
Happy portaling. It's going to get only crazier.
Yeah, I just love when Kevin, he'll go, portal pop. And I'm like, yes. Kevin brought out a portal pop.
Don't have a portal pop. No portal pop yet. We're on portal pop watch.
No, we're on portal pop watch. There you go. Official Kevin McPherson portal pop watch. I love it. I love that so much. Kevin, we'll have you back on the show to talk about all this madness with us. That's going to do it, though, for this week's episode of Full Courtney Press. Happy portaling, everybody. We're going to have plenty more episodes to come talking about it all with you guys. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next week.